Hi, I'm Gavin Moody and I'm here today with Farriery Tuition and I'm going to be showing you how to apply a hoof cast. We're going to be dressing the hoof wall all the way around from the heel round to heel so we can get a clean surface for the acrylic to stick to. We sort of just scratch it up all the way around. A little bit more difficult on cadaver than it is in real life. We'll clean this up. Come around the other side. Sort of just scratch up the hoof wall. Usually when you're doing this, you'll be doing it to a compromised foot. There's usually a reason why you're putting a hoof cast on. Usually it may be a horse that's quite brittle walled that you can't nail onto. Maybe it's had a bit of a hoof break and you need to have a better area so you can nail onto. And that is your hoof clean. So here is our hoof cast. It's a fiberglass resin impregnated mesh that we're going to use to wrap around the hoof capsule to make our secure hoof wall. Here's our acrylic. This is what I'll be mixing to stick the hoof cast to the foot. Into the cup. I prefer using a cup rather than the actual nozzle. I think you lose a lot of the resin material in the nozzle. You can be a bit more precise with this. I'm going to mix that together. As soon as you start mixing this, the actual curing process is starting to begin. We've probably got, in the weather we've got today, we've probably got about 5 minutes for this to go off. We'll give it a good mix. Got my acrylic, and the most important thing when applying the acrylic is to get a nice bit at the heels so you can really lock that cast in around the heel area to make it nice and secure. You can, if you like, you don't have to do this process this way around. You can pull the foot forward, try it that way, but this is the way I generally do it. You apply the acrylic all the way around the foot, paying attention not to get it on the coronary band. Okay, got a nice bit around the heels. Now you can either put this on dry or wet. I like to soak it first, hold it in the water for about 5 seconds. Then you start the wrapping process. So I put my thumb on it, the bulbs of the heels, a little bit of tension just to get it a bit tighter. You don't want to have it loose hanging on the foot. First of all, I like to hook it around the toe area here. So I hook it on. Then I come gently around the hoof wall, trying to make it as even as possible to get a nice finish. Staying away from the coronary band. And just overlapping, a bit like applying a vet wrap to a horse's foot. You pull just a little bit of tension as you're doing it, you get a nicer finish. And during this process, the acrylic underneath the cast is starting to cure, and the resin material inside the cast has been activated by the water. So this is starting to cure as well now as we speak. There's always a little lip cast material here. You get your cling film and then wrap the foot nice and tightly. Go slowly at first as to not put too much pressure on and pull the cast in a different direction. When I'm wrapping the cast on, I make sure I wrap it over the toe area here first. Now do it as tight as I can to get a nice finish on that cast. Usually now, I would put the horse's foot on the floor, and the pressure from the body weight of the horse would push the cast down onto the ground and flatten it on the solar surface here. But today we've just got it wrapped up, this cadaver here. So I'll just let that go off gently. Then in a few minutes, we'll take the cling film off and cut out the area at the back of the heel so that the foot can expand and contract naturally. So usually this curing process will only take a few minutes. Always depends on the weather conditions. In summertime, you have to be pretty quick, pretty rapid. I'd usually have an apprentice with me to help pass me the materials as I'm going along so that I'm ready for every stage of the job. In the winter time, the whole job can take a lot longer, so you have to have a bit of knowledge about how long your acrylic is going to take to cure, so you can take your time a little bit more over the winter. So when I'm applying the cast, in the beginning, I always make sure that I get a nice bit of tension as I'm coming around the foot, and that part of the cast comes across the toe and the sole here, and the other half of the cast is just along the dorsum, just so I can get a nice bit of tension as I'm starting to wrap it up. And a nice bit of tension makes you get a nice finish in the end to your cast. I can feel here now, I can feel the heat is starting to come through the acrylic. That's the acrylic curing on the inside of the cast and the cast itself. So in a few minutes, this will be ready to take off the cling film and cut out our heel gap. When I'm dealing with these hoof casts, I like to take the cling film off fairly quickly and start cutting off the area around the sole and the heels before it becomes too hard. Because once the cast really hardens, it can become quite difficult to cut away. So I've just taken off the cling film now. Here we have our cast, solid all the way around the hoof. Now the cast is cured, the glue underneath is cured, and I'm going to use my knife to cut away from the sole and around the seat of corns. And then I'm going to rasp up here and up here to take away this bit of cast that is over the back of the bulb so that the foot can expand naturally. Now I'm going to take off this cast area here, all the fiberglass cast. You can see where the glue is just coming over onto the seat of corn a little bit, so I'm going to have to remove that. I don't want any pressure there. Okay, then I'm going to get my rasp, and I usually follow a line from the frog down the back of the cleft and across the angle of the bulbs here and here, so I get a nice gap at the back. So just gently start to use your rasp, and you come across the angle where your bulbs are. Just be careful when you get to this area near the hairline on the coronary band that you don't score the coronary band itself, because it can be quite vascular and we don't want that. So to come up this angle, I change position, and again just using my corner of my rasp like a hacksaw to cut into the cast, and then taking an angle across the back of the bulbs. Be careful not to score the coronary band up here where it's just overlapping a little bit, because we don't want to have any blood. So we're just loosening all the areas up. Then you can either use your pincers to pull it off, or sometimes if you've done it correct, you should be able to just pop the back of the cast area off. So now we have room here for the foot to naturally expand and contract. I'm going to tidy up these areas so there's no sharp areas sticking into the soft edges of the bulbs, and tidy up around the seat of the corn so there's no pressure there. So I'm just going to use my rasp to tidy up the area around the bolt, around the seat of corn. So that's our solar surface is finished. Okay, and we're ready for the application of our shoe. I usually find that one application of hoof cast will get me through about 2 to 3 shoeing cycles of the horses that I shoe. Only problem being, of course, is when the foot starts to grow and it's recovering, the hoof cast is obviously growing down at the same rate, and you do come to a stage where you have a bit of a gap, the corrie band down to the cast. But I do manage to get about 3 shoe-ins out of 1 cast. So now our hoof cast is applied to the foot. I'm going to use my stool jack now to fit up the aluminium racing plate and apply this shoe to the foot. First I cut a clip just as normal, but instead of cutting into the hoof wall, cutting into the cast material. Offer my plate up to the foot, and I start to fit my shoe. You fit your shoe just like normal, toe quarter first, both sides, and the heel quarter. And the good thing about this cast, really not as worried as I was before with my compromised hoof capsule. I've got plenty of mixture of hoof wool and hoof cast to safely apply my plate now. Right, so now I'm going to apply the shoe safely to this compromised hoof, nailing into the hoof cast. You can hear that sound. The hoof cast is a little bit different to the hoof wall. I know that we're quite safe when we're nailing on now. Just nailing on into the hoof cast now. And I'm able to get a much more secure shoe on now. I'm not worried about getting the nail a bit too close and maybe the horse becoming lame. So our shoe is applied to the foot. You can see safely nailed on all the way around. Thanks for watching, guys. So this is a video of how to apply a hoof cast to a compromised foot. We look forward to seeing you again for some more Farriery Tuition videos. Take care.